Hi, I'm Mel Pezza. Nice to meet you. So this movie I've been excited about all year. I'm a huge musical theater fan. So I just want to know, how was it being cast as the iconic character of Matilda, and what was that like?
So it was on my mum's birthday, and I think I was just like meant to do some sort of class. And my mum was like, Matthew, the director, wants to have a word with you. So I didn't really know what to expect because it could have gone one way or another. It was a no or a yes. So I didn't want to get too excited. I was quite nervous because I like the auditions had gone through a year, so I really wanted it, but I knew that there were so many incredible kids that had auditioned, so I didn't want to get my hopes up. So my sister was like, I'll video it and see what happens, and like if it's a no, like I'll delete it straight away, and if it's a yes, then we have it to look back on. So when Matthew said we'd like to offer you the part of Matilda, my whole family was there, my mum, my dad, and my two sisters, and I think we were all as shocked as each other. We just burst into tears because I couldn't believe it. And I think like we all, after the call, and we all just stared at each other like I can't believe it's happened. And although now, after the auditions, filming it, and the press, and now that it's coming out, and now it has come out, it just feels like very crazy and surreal. Like I can't believe it, and it hasn't sunk in yet, and I don't know if it will ever sink in. But although I've seen it so many times, it just still seems really surreal.
Well, I just got it last night, about halfway through, and you are just fabulous. You are superb. The movie's superb. You're superb. So
thank you.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. And Robin, why don't you go next?
Hi, my name's Robin Davis from momthemagnificent.com. There is so much amazing music throughout this film. I'd love to hear from both of you. What's your favorite musical number?
Will I start or you start?
Yeah, you go first, Alisha. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I really enjoyed Naughty because Matilda doesn't really do lots of the dancing scenes, and she kind of she's in the dancing numbers, but she kind of overlooks all of the dance routines. So the part where she gets to dance the most is probably Naughty, because she gets to like walk on her hands but my favorite scene to film like all together was definitely Quiet, because I got to go up in the hot air balloon, and I just really enjoyed the song as well, because when I got to go up and sing up there, I think when you're watching the movie and you really go through the emotions with Matilda and you feel how she's reacting, and like you're kind of taking in all the stuff that's going on in her head. So that's probably my favorite scene.
It's really hard for me because it sort of changes. My favorite song is Quiet, and I just have always thought it's such a beautiful song. And I think I remember when I first heard it years ago, before Alisha was born, back when we were doing the stage show, like I remember hearing that song and just thinking, he's so clever, he's made a song out of silence. Like that, in a big way. Children, when I saw I remember saw the choreo. I'm so gone crazy for the coffee because I just through rushes these raw footage. You see people walking around, then they go action and it stops. But I remember seeing it, had to bring to what I was kind of amazing. Like so, you feel like that, and everyone else feels like that as well. I think those two my favourites, but also Naughty. I have a real Naughty because when we first it was first when I thought I like this. I remember the little girl
Dennis?
It was our very first preview, and sorry,
Dennis, I think it's Sue. Sorry, you're cutting out a little bit. So I think we may have missed a little bit of that.
Can you? Where did you Sue? Where did you go from? Shut up.
Sadly at the beginning, but I'm wondering if you log back out and log back in, it might help.
I'll see you later.
We'll wait for you. We will wait and have him pop back in. And just give us 10 seconds for that. Great. And we have Melissa back and we're just waiting on Dennis. Alisha, I will jump in the meantime. And what's your second favorite song?
Still Holding My Hand, definitely.
Wonderful. In the interim, when we get Dennis back, we'll come back to that. And Tessa, why don't you jump in if you want to ask for Alisha, and then we'll come back to Dennis when we get him back.
Yeah, perfect. Hi, Alisha. I'm Tessa with Mama's Geeky. I loved this. I watched it with my two girls who are 9 and 11 who didn't know the story of Matilda. So it was really exciting for them to kind of discover it in this way. But I'd love to know if you felt any, I guess, pressure or what the challenges were to have to like be like Matilda. You know, she's such an iconic character.
Well, I didn't really feel too much pressure because I knew, well, obviously Matilda's been played by so many different people, whether it's like the movie or on stage, it's been played by tons of different people, and like all of them are so incredible, but every one of the characters have been portrayed in a different way. So I knew that the way I was going to portray Matilda was going to be different. So I just kind of felt, I knew that going over there, we had 2 months of rehearsals, and me and Matthew, the director, we just kind of talked about some words like strong and courageous that like describe Matilda to help me kind of get into the character of her. So I kind of just felt that I'm just gonna, when they say action, I'll just transfer myself into Matilda and leave myself, Alisha, completely behind, and just try to go through the emotions and feel exactly how she's feeling at the time. And then when they say cool, I can switch back into Alisha.
Thank you. You did great.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And I see we have Dennis back. So Robin, that was your question, right?
Yeah. So I think where we left off was just hearing from you. What was your favorite number from the film?
Yeah, sorry about that. I think Quiet is my favorite number because it feels like, you know, when Tim first sent it, you know, a long time ago, it was him singing it, and you know, I remember he just, you know, hearing this swirl of music, and then suddenly the music stopped just at the moment when I thought it was going to do something else, which is what's so clever about what Tim does, is he sort of always is sort of, he understands so well what we need as listeners that he can go somewhere completely different, you know, which is what he does with Quiet. He just goes somewhere completely different, and suddenly you have a song that's sort of created out of the sound of silence. And I just thought that was such a beautiful thing. And every time I see it sung, whether it's, you know, the live show, it just sort of breaks my heart. But when Alisha is singing it in that balloon, I just think, you know, she sort of represents what everyone needs when they feel the world gets too much for them. They all need a hot air balloon just to spend 5-10 minutes in and then come back, you know.
I need one. Before Ashley, why don't you jump in?
Hi, I'm Ashley from withashleyandco.com, and I thank you both for taking time to speak with me today. Matilda was one of my favorite books growing up, and I love the original movie with Danny DeVito being the awful dad, and just everything was so iconic about it, but I really enjoyed this musical version, and like Tessa was saying, this was my son's first kind of introduction to Matilda, and he loved it. Oh my God, the Trunchbull scene with the cake, he was just like, his eyebrows are up, like, he's not going to do it, you know, so we loved it. But Alisha, speaking of Trunchbull, you got to work with Emma Thompson and Lashana Lynch. They were both amazing actresses. What was it like working with them, and was Emma as terrifying in person as she was on the screen?
Well, she definitely wasn't. Well, it was kind of like, it was two completely different people, and when they say action, she'd switch into the character of Trunchbull, and it was a bit scary. And when I first saw her and all her like prosthetics, and like I was a bit scared, but all the kids were there, and it was when we were filming Bruce, and she just went like this, and she opened out her arms for all the kids to run into her, and we all went and gave her a big hug. So I knew that under all like the costume and the prosthetics down there was Emma, and when we were filming, it was like two completely different people. But like working with such like incredible actors, I was a bit nervous at the start because they'd had like a lot more experience than I had, and it was my first ever film. So to be working with incredible actors was amazing. But they really kind of taught me a lot as well. I was kind of trying to learn off them, and because try to follow in their footsteps because they'd done more movies than I had. So I just was trying like kind of learning off them, and seeing like, because like I learned a lot, because one of the things that there was is that there were so many people there, and there was a lot of things that I didn't know about that was involved in the filming side. So I didn't know that there were so many people that would be on set, and I was a bit intimidated because I didn't know if they were all watching me. But I kind of realized that like from watching everyone else that you just need to be calm, and they're just doing their job as well as you are. So not to be worried or anything, and just put yourself into the character.
That's lovely. Thank you.
And Melissa, do you want to hop in?
Hi. So I scroll through TikTok and everyone's trying to do the infamous Matilda dance. It's all over TikTok. Everyone's trying to do it. I just want to know about actually filming that dance number on the walls and everything like that to both of you. How such a talented kids doing this. I just want to know the whole dynamics of that and how long it took to film that.
Dennis, why don't you jump in first?
Well, I wasn't. I was only there for one day because of COVID. I only saw one day of that. I saw this, and it took a long time. I can't tell you how much. You'd have to ask Matthew, the director. But just to give you a clue, I was there for. There's a bit right at the end when they run out of the gates, and this kid does a cartwheel. I was there for that moment, and it took nearly all day. And there was a bit of the dancing as well, a bit of the crazy dancing, you know. But it just took for ages. But because of COVID, it was, you know, you weren't on that set unless you absolutely had to be there. You know, it was a real tight sort of thing. But you know, they Ellen and Matthew worked for, I think, between 3 and 4 months on the dances with the kids beforehand. So they were, you know, they worked so unbelievably hard on that, and everything that they're doing is just as hard as it looks. You know, it looks really hard. We took a decision early on that we weren't going to use we weren't going to use trickery, we weren't going to use CGI in the dance routines, because we felt that dance is only sort of the spectacle of dance is only great when you just know that it's really happening. Real human beings are doing that. So real kids are leaping out of the walls and bouncing here and there and swinging around poles. That's all really happening, you know. And if you'd have sensed any sort of CGI, suddenly it wouldn't have felt very special. But it meant that they did it the hard way, the old-fashioned way, and that's with like lots and lots of work. But Alisha will be able to tell you more, because she would, you know, obviously she did dance.
Well, like I said earlier, Matilda, like, she's in the dancing scenes, but she's kind of like Bruce in Revolting. Like in Bruce, she's standing on the stage and she's kind of overlooking all of it, and in Revolting, she comes in at the very end. But what I did get to see was like when like they did do the dance numbers, and it was just really incredible. And that's why I'm just so happy for everyone, because the kids worked so hard and they were all so incredible. So I'm just really happy for everyone, because even like the kids and the cast and the crew, like everyone worked so hard, and like I saw how hard the kids worked when they were doing those dance numbers. So I'm just really happy for everyone.
Great.
Just to jump in, there was something that Matthew said as well that reminded me of what Alisha said. Matthew said the interesting thing about working with, particularly with child performers, but is that when you set a bar for them and you work really hard to reach that bar, but what's amazing about them is that they'll go past it, and then you set the bar higher. This is Matthew's, not me saying this. This is what he says. You know, then you set the bar higher, and they reach it, and they go past that, and then you set the bar higher. So you're just constantly sort of, you're in this really luxurious position where, you know, they would always exceed your expectations. And the experience I've had of working with kids for years on Matilda is, it's astonishing just how up for it they are. You know, they really want to, they're enjoying it, you know. I mean, I think the great thing about the film, one of the exciting things about the film is it feels like fun, because there's a lot of fun in there. A lot of hard work, but there's a lot of fun in there.
Great.
Thank you.
Tessa?
Yeah, so for Dennis, I'd love to know just what it was about Matilda. I know going back to the stage show, but what it was about this story that made you want to adapt it into something like this, and if there were any challenges in doing that.
Yeah, there were lots of challenges. I mean, there were challenges in adapting the book into a stage play. The big challenges were that the original book is very different in structure, and, you know, it's quite episodic, and, you know, and in the original book, Matilda doesn't really do a lot. She's kind of cruel to her parents, but other than that, she doesn't really do that much until the very end. And also, Matilda and the Trunchbull don't really meet right till the very end, you know. And there were all of these strange little things that you if you look now at the show, you kind of go, well, of course it's got to be like that. But we didn't know it at the time, and it took a long, long time to work out and go, oh my God, Matilda's not doing anything. We have to make sure that Matilda's doing stuff, you know. And then from the adapting it from the stage play to the film was really hard, because I'd written the stage play. Normally if you're adapting someone else's work, you can kind of look at them and go, what's this idiot done here? But I was the idiot, you know, so I had to, but I was also the idiot that was adapting it, you know, so I was kind of like two idiots, you know. But the thing that attracted me to it, I think it's just Matilda. It's just the story of a girl. Roald Dahl has when he describes Matilda, she's a very unusual hero, Matilda, especially a musical hero, because she doesn't ever complain, and she never says, I've got it bad. Like, she never does that at all, you know. And in all sorts of different subtle ways, that's what heroes do. You know, heroes have to tell the audience, I've got it bad at a certain point, so we can all go, oh, that is bad. Hopefully someone, you know, but Matilda never does that. And we deliberately did that from Roald Dahl had written that, you know, despite being, you know, clever and being this sort of real, being this avid reader and knowing all this stuff, she was just a really normal girl. And if you met her, you liked her. And that's what really attracted me to her, was this kind of, she's a normal girl who's a superhero. Like, where do you see that? You don't ever see that. Everyone we see on TV or film, they're either superheroes or they're cool like superheroes. If they're not superheroes, they're still way cooler than me. They're so cool, you know. And I just think Matilda's like, I just feel like she feels, you know, she's definitely cooler than me. That's definitely true. But, you know, I feel like she's not in a different universe, you know, and I think that's what attracted me to it.
Thank you.
Robin, want to jump in?
I'd love to hear from both of you. What's one lesson you hope that families can learn from watching?
Will I
Do you want to go, Alisha?
Okay. Well, I think that, like, when you go to the cinema or you watch it when it comes out on Netflix, I think that it's the sort of movie you can watch with all your family, or you can watch it on your own, or if you're a kid or an adult. I think that it's suitable for all ages. But I think the main message is just that no matter what age you are, I think we can all, one way or another, be in Matilda's situation. So I think that if you just stand up for yourself and not let anyone walk all over you, I think that Matilda says, like, Matilda's obviously a kid, but she has the mentality of an adult. So in most situations, she's kind of the adult talking down to the kid. So I think that no matter what age you are, I think you can just take away from Matilda to be strong and have lots of courage and don't let anyone walk all over you.
Yeah, I think what Alisha said is a much better answer than I'm going to give. So maybe I should. Well, I think I'm not very good with, like, messages and things like that. Because I think ultimately I'm not a particularly moral person. I'm not an immoral person, but I'm not super moral. So I'm not sure I'm in a position to sort of tell other people, I'm just not. They shouldn't listen to me, you know. But I think, for me, it's more about sort of I think you write stuff because you're trying to. Humans are always talking. We're always communicating, and when you're writing something, you're hoping that. But in the process of writing something, you feel a bit more connected to the world and less lonely. And that's what I hope you hope that people feel as well. They feel a bit more connected, and we all feel a little bit less lonely, you know. And I think what I love about Matilda, and particularly what Matthew's done with this, because you know he works so hard, and you know he is in, you know, his personality. It's not just his work, but his personality is in every part of this film. You know, I think he's managed to make something quite special in that it kind of you do feel connected to it. I think when you come out at the end, you feel connected to those characters, and so that's sort of that's the main thing, you know. And don't eat a whole cake in one go. Just don't ever eat as much as it looks like you should do it. I mean, I really want to eat cake in one sitting, but just don't.
I'm so bummed now, Dennis. Thanks. That was my plan for tonight. Ashley, live from Cruncham Hall, why don't you wrap us up today?
All right, so here's a fun question for both of you. If you had real powers like Matilda's, what would be the first thing you would do with them?
Well, if I had like telekinesis where I can move things with my mind, I'd definitely move I'd start off by like little things, like if I was sitting on the couch and like my food is at the table, like I just move my eyes over so I don't have to go get it. But like a big thing that I do is like because like I've got two sisters and one of them lives in England, and then some of lots of the friends that I made during Matilda, because I'm from Ireland, I'd definitely make my eyes and move them closer to me so I could just like drive to see them instead of having to take a plane.
I think that's such a good answer. But I think I think if I had, for me, it would be one of two extremes. I would either, you know, slowly set about, enhancing my powers so that I could, bend all humankind to my will and become overlord of the entire planet, or I would use my powers for good, like, you know, a nuclear fusion. Telekinesis would be really helpful in nuclear fusion, you know, and things like this. So it'd be one or the other. Like if I got it, it would either be really, really good or really, really bad.
Yeah, there's that moral immoral thing you were just talking about.
Yeah,
got it.
It's doing one extreme, you know.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all for joining. I'm going to have Alisha and Dennis stay where you are. And ladies, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon and this evening. And
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so
Bye.
much, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.